Welcome back to the English Daily Podcast. Today we have a topic that is useful for every English learner and honestly for every human being. We are talking about memory, especially why we forget things and how we can remember better. Have you ever met someone new and forgotten their name 10 seconds later? Or studied vocabulary at night and felt like it disappeared by the next morning? If that sounds familiar, do not worry. Forgetting is normal. Today Jake and I will explain how memory works in simple English, teach some helpful vocabulary, and share practical tips you can use right away.
I love this topic because memory can feel mysterious, but the basic ideas are not too hard. Let me start with a key word, encode. To encode means to take information in and begin storing it in your brain. If you hear a new word, notice its sound, connect it to a picture, and use it in a sentence, you are encoding it. Another useful word is retain. Retain means keep something over time. So the challenge is not only learning information once. The real challenge is encoding it clearly and retaining it long enough to use it later.
That is a great starting point. I also want to add one more word, recall. Recall means bring information back into your mind when you need it. For example, if your teacher asks, "What does reliable mean?" and you can answer without looking at your notes, that is recall. Many learners think memory is like a camera. They expect the brain to record everything perfectly. But memory is more active than that. The brain chooses what seems important. It organizes details. Sometimes it even changes details. So forgetting does not always mean your brain is weak. Sometimes it simply means the information was not stored deeply.
Exactly. One reason we forget is lack of attention. Attention means focused mental energy. If you study while checking messages, thinking about dinner, and listening to loud music, your attention is divided. Divided means split into parts. In that case, the brain gets a weak signal. Imagine writing with a pencil that is almost out of lead. The mark on the paper will be light and unclear. In the same way, weak attention creates a weak memory. That is why short, focused study sessions are often better than long, distracted ones.
So practical tip number 1 is simple. Pay full attention when you first meet new information. If you are learning a new English expression like break the ice, stop for a moment. Say it aloud. Think about the meaning. Picture a situation where two strangers start talking and become more comfortable. Then make your own sentence. Maybe, at the meeting, the manager told a joke to break the ice. When you do that, you are not just seeing the phrase. You are building connections around it, and connections make memory stronger.
Another reason we forget is time. There is a famous idea called the forgetting curve. The main point is easy to understand. After we learn something, we forget a lot of it surprisingly fast unless we review it. Review means look at something again in order to strengthen learning. This is why students sometimes feel confident right after studying, then shocked a few days later. The information felt fresh, but it was not stable yet. A good response is spaced repetition. That means reviewing information several times with spaces between each review instead of repeating it many times in 1 hour.
I think spaced repetition is one of the best tools for language learners. Let us explain with a simple example. Imagine you learn 10 new words today. Review them tonight, then tomorrow, then 3 days later, then 1 week later. Each review tells your brain, this still matters. Keep it. Compare that with cramming. Cramming means trying to learn a lot in a very short time, usually before a test. Cramming can help for a day, but spaced repetition is much better for long-term memory. Long-term means lasting over an extended period.
There is also the problem of interference. Interference happens when one memory gets in the way of another. English learners experience this all the time. Maybe you learn borrow and lend on the same day and mix them up. Or maybe you confuse say, tell, speak, and talk because the meanings overlap. Overlap means partly cover the same area. When similar items sit too close together in your mind, they can compete. A useful strategy is to compare them clearly. Make a small chart. Write borrow means receive temporarily, and lend means give temporarily. Contrasts help the brain separate ideas.
That word contrast is very important. A contrast is a difference that becomes clear when you compare two things. In vocabulary learning, contrast can reduce confusion. Let me give another example. Big and large are similar, but not always used in exactly the same way. We say a big problem very naturally, while a large problem sounds more formal and less common. When you notice these details, memory becomes richer. Richer here means more detailed and meaningful. Instead of storing one weak translation, you store examples, tone, and context. Context means the situation in which language is used.
Now let us talk about emotion and meaning. We often remember things better when they feel surprising, funny, personal, or useful. That is because meaningful information gets stronger mental connections. Suppose you learn the word exhausted. If you only read, exhausted means very tired, you may forget it. But if you connect it to your own life and say, after working late and cleaning my apartment, I felt absolutely exhausted, the word becomes more memorable. Memorable means easy to remember. Personal examples are powerful because the brain likes information that feels relevant.
Yes, and stories help too. Humans naturally remember stories better than isolated facts. Isolated means separate and alone. So if you want to remember vocabulary, do not study only lists. Put the words into a mini-story. For example, if your target words are storm, shelter, flashlight, and rescue, create a short scene. Last night a storm hit the town. A family looked for shelter. Their flashlight went out, but a rescue team arrived quickly. Even a simple story creates order, and order helps memory. The brain likes patterns more than random pieces.
Let us introduce another useful phrase, active recall. Active recall means testing yourself instead of just looking again at the answer. For example, close your notebook and try to say 5 new expressions from memory. Or look at a definition and guess the word. This method feels harder, but that difficulty is actually useful. Productive difficulty can strengthen memory. Productive means creating a good result. Many learners spend too much time recognizing and not enough time producing. Recognizing is knowing something when you see it. Producing is using it from your own memory in speech or writing.
That difference between recognizing and producing is huge. Sometimes learners say, I know this word, but when I speak, it never comes out. That means the word may be in passive memory, not active memory yet. Passive memory helps you understand when you read or listen. Active memory helps you use the language yourself. To move a word from passive to active, practice retrieval again and again. Retrieval is the act of pulling information out of memory. Try speaking without reading. Try writing from memory. Try explaining a word in simple English instead of translating it.
Sleep matters too, maybe more than people expect. During sleep, the brain helps consolidate memories. Consolidate means make something stronger and more stable. If you study a list of phrases and then sleep well, your brain has a better chance to organize that learning. If you stay up very late, sleep poorly, and wake up tired, recall may suffer. Suffer means become worse or weaker. So practical tip number 2 is do not always sacrifice sleep for extra study. Sometimes the smart choice is 20 minutes less studying and 1 hour more sleeping.
Movement can also help. A short walk after studying may improve focus and mental freshness. Freshness here means a clear, energized state of mind. Some people remember better when they change location, use gestures, or read aloud. That is because memory can be linked to the body and the environment, not only to silent thinking. Even simple habits matter. Drink water. Take breaks. Review before you are completely exhausted. If your brain feels overloaded, new information may not stick. Stick in this context means remain firmly in memory.
I want to mention a common mistake. People often confuse repetition with effective repetition. Reading the same page 5 times can feel productive, but it may become mechanical. Mechanical means done automatically without real thinking. Better repetition includes variation. Read the word, say it, hear it, write it, and then use it in a question. If the word is generous, ask, who is the most generous person you know? If the phrase is run out of time, say, I ran out of time before finishing my homework. Variety creates multiple paths back to the same memory.
Here is another strategy that works well for intermediate learners. Group vocabulary into themes and also into real-life situations. A theme could be health, travel, or work. A situation could be ordering coffee, joining a meeting, or apologizing to a friend. When words live together in a meaningful group, they become easier to retrieve. You can even create memory anchors. An anchor is something that holds another thing steady. A picture, a key sentence, or a strong example can act like an anchor. It gives the brain a clear place to find the word later.
And please remember that forgetting is not always failure. In fact, a little forgetting can be part of learning. If you struggle to remember a phrase and then successfully retrieve it, that effort can make the memory stronger. The key is not to wait too long. Review after some forgetting, but before the information disappears completely. Think of memory like a path through grass. If you walk on it once, it almost disappears. If you return many times over days and weeks, the path becomes clear. Consistent practice is more powerful than one dramatic study session.
Before we finish, let us give listeners a simple memory routine for English study. First, choose 5 to 10 useful words or expressions, not 50. Second, learn the meaning with an example, not just a translation. Third, say each item aloud and create one personal sentence. Fourth, test yourself after a few minutes without looking. Fifth, review tomorrow, then later in the week. Sixth, use the expressions in real conversation, journal writing, or voice messages. When language becomes part of your life, memory improves naturally. Use beats pressure almost every time.
Let us recap the key points. We said memory has several stages: encoding, retaining, and recall. We forget for many reasons, including weak attention, lack of review, interference from similar ideas, poor sleep, and mechanical study habits. We also learn some practical solutions: focus deeply, use spaced repetition, practice active recall, build stories and personal examples, compare confusing words with clear contrasts, and review in small regular sessions. If today helped you, subscribe to the English Daily Podcast and share this episode with a friend who is learning English. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.